What we do here is go back.
The Just Us League, that's what we call ourselves. We do the hosting at the Forest City Comic Con in London. This is our second year here doing hosting panels and moderating panel discussions with the celebrities here at Genrecon. And this is going to be our discussion on all things in the Marvel world panel.
Yeah.
My name's Ian Tyson.
My name's Jeremy Bushel.
I'm Brad Bushel.
Brad's a little under the weather. Don't get too close. He's
Quarantine.
patient zero. So we're going to talk about what's happening. Last night we had a rousing discussion about DC Universe. And so today we're going to talk Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe in particular. And, you know, maybe delve into the TV shows a little bit as well. And we'll just talk about what's going on. We welcome this to be an open discussion. And you've got thoughts, you've got complaints. Love your Spider-Man costume, by the way. It's fantastic. And so we want to get into all that because there's lots of stuff coming up in the Marvel Cinematic
100%.
Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Lots to be excited about. As Ian said, we talked about the DC universe a little bit last night. A lot of that is on uneven ground and kind of uncertain future. We still don't know who's going to be Batman, and that movie's going to start filming this summer. In like stark contrast, you've got the Marvel universe, which is just set in concrete, and they're going to be just hammering out those movies for the next 5-6 years at least.
They've got these things figured out. Like it's just a.
They've
So
got the
there's
roadmap set.
nobody even nothing.
Nothing. No, here's the thing. The snap was great. It was a little more disheartening than I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Like it's very funny because at the beginning of the movie, you're like, yeah, I'm so excited to see like Guardians of the Galaxy, like this Rubber Band Man, which we've been listening to on loop all weekend, is the song that the Guardians of the Galaxy like enter the movie for Infinity War on. It's a great like pump up jam, and at the end of the movie, you're like, everything is sadness. This world is garbage.
Yeah.
So the snap is really unsettling, and I love Ant-Man's another prime example. The entire movie is like the Ant-Man tone. It's joyous, it's funny, it's happy, and then at the end of the movie in the post-credit scene, you're like, oh right, yeah, that happened in the last Marvel movie.
Right.
Everyone's.
I don't know if I'm really 100% sold on, from what we understand, in Endgame coming out, what everybody's just been calling the snap. They're calling the dissemination. So that's what it's.
That's been the official title.
That's
of
the
what it
official
is.
the official title of what the world is calling losing half of its
Yeah,
population.
the biggest loss from Infinity War, hands down, is Captain America's beard.
Yeah.
I mean,
They took out
devastated to
half
see
the
that
heroes,
gone.
but
Half the heroes and
they
the
chose
beard's
to
gone,
lose
and
the
now he's
beard.
just baby-faced again.
Yeah, there was a great meme that somebody did of his beard dusting off of his face, Infinity War style, that was gone. And there was so many great memes came out of the, turning to ash. He sent me one that I've got it on my phone somewhere, it's heartbreaking. It's the wife from Up being
yeah.
ash. And you're like, oh, my heart, it hurts.
And then
it was the day after Stan Lee died. He sends me a picture of Stan. I'm like, too soon, dude. Not okay.
But fitting and a
It was
beautiful,
lovely,
beautiful
yes.
tribute. Speaking of Spider-Man costume, like the Spider-Man, his cameo in Into the Spider-Verse, brilliant, and made me tear run down my cheek. A manly tear.
The Stan Lee cameo.
Stanley
Stanley
cameo
cameo
in
is
Spider-Verse is brilliant.
And is likely, can we all just say, going to win the Oscar for Best Animated Film, and
Yeah.
should, and is so
Definitely
fantastic.
deserved.
There was an article that I read, and I agreed with it. Even just the headline, it said not only is Into the Spider-Verse the best Spider-Man movie they've made, it might be the best Superman movie or superhero movie that's been made, like ever. And it is fantastic. If you
phenomenal.
haven't seen it, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's very well done, very well acted. I enjoy all the voice acting.
Well, so let's talk about the things we've got coming up in order. In a mere few weeks, we'll be able to have seen Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
First female-led Marvel movie. Very excited. Brie Larson actually smiled in the last trailer so that everybody would shut up because they were like, smile, because that's just her
You
default
look like a
face.
DC movie.
And we're going back to a free eye patch for Nick Fury, which
Yep.
will be interesting.
And the speculation is we'll find out why he
Yeah.
got the eye patch, and other speculation is it's the cat. That the cat is the one who scratches his eye out, literally, and that would be fantastic if, after all of the
That'd be amazing.
All the
things he used-
speculation.
all the speculation, he literally
Yeah.
just gets mauled by a house cat, and that's why he has to wear an eye patch. That would be outstanding. So, speculation, rumors, what we know on Captain Marvel.
Here's the thing with Captain Marvel is, for me watching it, I'm kind of looking at it like, it looks a lot like a Green Lantern movie, which doesn't give me a lot of confidence, but I'm excited to see what they do with the character.
Well, here's my thing. I actually liked the Green Lantern movie, and I'm that person. So the one I own it on Blu-ray, no less. Anyway,
So you bought it recently.
yeah.
Wow. Huh. That's an interesting take.
Shut up.
No, I'm excited to see what they do with Captain Marvel. I'm really excited to see them taking the character. Brie Larson absolutely has the acting chops to pull off.
For sure.
Like that. I love the world we're in now, where like, does that actor have the chops to carry the comic book character storyline?
It'll also be interesting to see because it's set in the 90s and she hadn't been mentioned or seen in anything in the Marvel Universe lately. So it'll be interesting to see how they explain that, whether she just went off planet for years or whether she's in a sort of stasis due to a big battle that might have happened that'll take place during her movie.
Well, I assume it's not a stasis because of the Infinity War finale, where you've got Fury calling her on his what looks to be a pager, which would be hilarious if that's the only way you can get in touch with a hero from the 90s.
Yeah.
She's just got a beeper.
I also really appreciated in the trailer for Captain Marvel was the way they told you this is set in the 90s, which she landed into a blockbuster video.
Yeah,
Have you
amazing.
guys seen the website yet?
Which website?
I haven't
For
seen it.
Captain Marvel, they've
So-
done a retro 90s website.
Oh,
It looks
that's
like something created
amazing.
by GeoCities.
It's rebuilt like the Space Jam.
That's
amazing.
fantastic.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, she's wearing a Nine Inch Nails shirt. It's pretty cool. And, yeah.
The one, I mean, and it's a minor issue to have. It's a dumb issue to have because I understand the way the studios work. I really wish that the only trailers we were seeing were for the Captain Marvel movie. I wish they didn't give us any trailers. Like, we can all know that Spider-Man Away From Home or Far From Home is coming out. I don't even think you really need to pour a bunch of money into advertising Marvel movies anymore.
No.
Because everyone's going to go into it. It's like not advertising Star Wars Land at Disney.
Mhm.
You don't
Yeah.
need to put money into that because people are going to show up. You can say, hey, I'm doing like Spider-Man Cooks Me Meatloaf, and people will pay millions of dollars to go see that movie. That's a terrible example, but in theory.
I don't know
it
where
can
that
work.
came from, but now I want meatloaf. So
So I think I would like to see, like, after Infinity War, just silent, like radio silence until the next movie came out.
yeah, that would have been good.
Endgame.
Yeah.
No. After Infinity War.
After Infinity War,
just
you've
radio
got
silence.
nothing.
No,
Infinity
any of
War,
the characters that were shark vacuumed.
Yeah.
Shark vacuum. Dustpan. Any of the characters that were dustpanned in Infinity War, I would have liked to just pretend like that's it. But
So let's talk. Okay, sorry. Well, we're still in Captain Marvel. We can see Ronan again.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
Ronan the Accuser, not Ronan Hawkeye, new Ronan.
Yes,
Very
which
confusing.
makes it everything very
Spelled the
confusing.
same and everything.
So we get Ronan, and what's his Honsu plays? What's that character's name? The guy from Guardians, because he's in it. He's in the team with Captain Marvel. Jude Law, who is playing Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's going to be
Coulson.
very cool. Coulson, yeah, we get all digitally youngified Coulson, and he's got a little more hair.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the technical term, right? Digitally
which is
youngified.
funny that they have to do digitally youngify Coulson, but Samuel L. Jackson like, we'll ditch the eye patch.
and then put some hair on.
And then just
Everything
put some hair on
fine.
him and he'll be
Really
fine.
go
No,
He
they
is good to go.
digitally smoothed him out too.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like you need to. Like, he's a good-looking dude still. Like,
Yeah.
he's still.
It's
don't think he
amazing.
ages.
He doesn't
He's a
age.
vampire.
He doesn't age.
It's possible he's the Highlander. We're not
There's a
entirely
good
sure,
chance.
but
There's
there's
a
a
good
good
chance.
chance that he's the
Like,
Highlander.
they introduced that technology in Civil War with Robert Downey Jr. when they're doing the flashback to him
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
and now it's just in all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's
they did
insane.
with Michael Douglas
And Michelle
Ant-Man,
Pfeiffer.
and Michelle Pfeiffer. Yep. And so
That's the one thing that Jude Law is coming to my mind. Is it's insane to see the caliber of performers we're having in the Marvel universe too.
yeah.
It's
Annette
insane to see-
Bening in
Yeah,
Captain Marvel,
it's
looking like the person who gives her powers, trains her
Yeah.
something. It's a little vague as to what her role is, and that's good. I like that we've got some vague stuff. We don't know absolutely everything that's going to happen, so it's good to walk in with surprises. Because I don't know if anybody 100% expects what we're going to see.
Well, yeah,
from
and
this
you haven't
Captain
really
Marvel movie.
gotten much of the plot from the. You
No.
know that she goes for training. You know that she starts out. You know that she's learning about her own past while the movie's going on. But they don't really give you a huge insight into who the big bad for it is going to be or any of it, which is really good. 'Cause
Well,
a lot of the trailers.
we do
give
have
away
the
too much.
Skrulls.
Yeah, but
And I think the Skrulls in there, I think what this is going to do is plant the seeds for, from what I understand, after we finish the Thanos storyline, that the next big, long, over multiple movie storyline we're gonna get into is Secret War, or Secret Invasion. Isn't it Secret Invasion? Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion, so where we could see that some of the Avengers end up being Skrulls and have been just pretending, what's gonna be interesting is when they determine for how long they have been in disguise.
What if they just make Captain America Hydra again? Because that went over really well.
Oh boy.
Well, could you imagine if, so when they end game, because I'm assuming what they want is to kind of reverse what happened with the snap, but when they assume that they reversed it, that's when the Skrulls come in and take over the heroes that you assume are fine.
Right, that's possible. Yeah.
But they're actually just not back, it's just the Skrulls taking over those certain characters. And then you find that out over certain movies, you're like, oh shoot, that person never came back.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things, and I mean, Captain Marvel's obviously going to have a huge play in Endgame, and it's going to be interesting to see how she fits into everything.
Yeah.
The thing that always drives me crazy is, and this is why I like the Thor Ragnarok was great, because a lot of the concern of the film, the big thing you're trying to stop, wasn't happening to her.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense why the other Avengers weren't called in.
Right.
Whereas Thor 2, the Earth was clearly in damage. He knew the other heroes were around, and no one came to lift a finger.
Right.
So it's tough to do those high-powered, the world is ending scale movies if you're not going to call the rest of the team that you already know, you already work with. Whereas with Infinity War, you saw that. You saw the Earth was, and so everyone banded together to try and get this done.
And that's the issue with superhero movies as a whole, is that you have to find, like, just for the single superhero movies, for like Superman movie, Batman movie, Marvel movies, you have to find a problem that's not too big for the one hero to solve, but not big enough that he can't do it by himself.
Yeah.
Right.
Himself.
There's that fine line
Yeah.
of what you're going to do. So we've got that happening with Captain Marvel. It'll obviously tee up, I'm sure we're going to get a post-credits that's going to tee up maybe her receiving the page from Nick Fury or something. That would almost be a guarantee that we'll hear something about that in the Captain Marvel movie. Then we move forward into Endgame. And so much speculation into Endgame as to, are they dead? Are they in another dimension? Are they inside the Soul Stone? So many speculations that have been put out there.
Do you imagine the post-credit scene is just her picking up a pager with a picture of an eye patch on it? She's like,
That's
oh,
the Nick Fury symbol.
it's just an eye patch.
The one thing I would like to see, which I don't think is going to happen, it would be cool if they gave all the Marvel television characters from the Netflix series kind of their chance to really jump into the universe too, as kind of a final goodbye for those characters if we aren't going to see them again on the Disney streaming service.
Yeah.
It would be neat to see those 4 actors show up.
Apparently, at some point in Infinity War that was considered, but they figured that would just be too much. There's just-
Well, yeah, but you could even just have them doing their own thing, like even a cutscene where, because we know, and if you guys don't want spoilers, sorry,
Earmuffs.
Earmuffs. Go earmuffs for like 5 seconds. We know that there's a flashback sequence to the first Avengers movie of some kind. In Endgame, Captain America's been seen in the original costume, and there's Tony Stark in his modern, what's the microbot or whatever,
With the nanobot.
nanobot suit, sweater stuff, and that
The
gear
bleeding
on
edge armor.
in the
And
in the
Ant-Man's
flashback.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man's
Yeah,
with
they're
him.
in. There was a picture taken on set. They're in what is clearly a rubble-stricken New York in the middle of the
It looks
Battle
like
of
that
New York.
street that was in the middle of the
Yeah,
highway.
and
in the middle
he's
of the
he's
battle.
wearing the OG Avengers costume. Cap is, and is there talking with present day Tony Stark and Ant-Man. So
Yeah.
So
we don't know
there's
what that means. Whether there's going to be some time travel. Do they get the time stone back? What do they do? There's so many fan theories going on out there. It's crazy. And some of them, like, you go into any Reddit stream and there's some of them are like, if you follow the breadcrumbs, really, okay, that would make sense. Some of them you're like, well, come on, that's a bit of a stretch. But who knows? Who knows what could happen? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So seeing those, so even in that New York cutscene, it'd be cool to see like the Punisher doing his thing and taking out some of the aliens that are attacking some local business in Hell's Kitchen or whatever. That would, all those little things, like I'd like to see those little nods, like the in the opening scene of like Daredevil where they're talking about renting the office, and they say, well, this is all pre-attack pricing, like it's what we would have paid before the attack on New
Right.
York.
Yeah.
So you know they're connected, you know there's the connection, there's the family there, but I really do think to give especially Charlie Cox and and
John Bernthal.
John Bernthal, they're shining, 'cause for me, like, those two series stood out
Oh,
as,
Head and Shoulders.
brilliant. And
If
so,
Iron Fist doesn't show up in one of these things,
Not
I
a
think
huge
we're
fan.
gonna be fine. I
Fine.
think it'll be
Not a
okay.
whole, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of Iron Fist, but anyway. So yeah, some of the speculation. Some people have pulled a screenshot from Ant-Man versus Wasp when they went into the quantum realm and they got Jenna Van Dyne back. That you could see a city. There was a city inside the quantum realm, and that maybe that is in the quantum realm is possibly where people are from the snap, from the dissemination, that they might be in the quantum realm. Another speculation is literally that they're not dead, they were just taken inside the Soul Stone. Like that literally they're on that desolate planet where the Soul Stone was, that is now populated by, it's this like, you know, mystical universe thing, and that's where everybody went. We don't know.
there has to be some level of connection between the dusting and where they wind up. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been that as the choice. Because just with the snap, you could have just saved a bucket of cash by just having the characters disappear.
Well, and my thing, just from if you look at it from a script perspective with these Marvel films, and when they repeat a line, when it becomes kind of a hook in a movie, and the thing I always attached onto with Infinity War was the ongoing discussion throughout the film between Cap and Vision. And Cap kept saying, "We don't trade lives." Like when Vision was just ready to give himself up for it, he said, "We don't trade lives." And then Vision, when he saved Cap at the end, said, "We don't trade lives." I think now that we're back to the original Avengers are really the core of who's left, that they're gonna have to trade lives. We know the contracts have, as far as we know, ended for Cap, Thor, Tony possibly, and Hulk.
And it's interesting, Chris Evans wrote this post on Instagram saying goodbye to the character that he's played for so long, and I really enjoyed it, and I thank you to the fans, and thank you to Marvel for giving me the opportunity to play this character. It's changed my life, and that whole really touching post. And then like 2 weeks later, Anthony Russo, one of the Russo brothers who's directing Endgame, came out and said, I don't know why he posted that, because he is not done.
Yeah, he just hasn't
So-
signed a contract, or we don't know about
And
it.
especially, he said goodbye to Captain America. He never said goodbye to Steve Rogers. Because
Yeah.
Captain America is a mantle. Steve Rogers is the character that he plays.
Or maybe he's saying goodbye to the Cap we know, because maybe, as we speculated, maybe he comes back, but from the time he comes back, he's a Skrull.
Yeah.
So the Steve Rogers we know is going to be gone. I think the other thing too in the new Endgame trailer is the fact that, so we know from a set picture, we've got Steve in the original Avengers suit. He's also in his Winter Soldier suit at one point, because he's on board the Quinjet with Black Widow, and she said, "It's going to work, Steve," and he said, well, it better, because I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't. And he's in his Winter Soldier suit, and then we also see him in his most recent Cap suit as well.
So maybe just every cutscene is him changing into another universe.
Yeah, there you go. He's
So
just-
like they're
I
taking New
just-
York, he's like, give me 1
guys,
second, these boots are still so tight.
I just don't know. Which one do you think? I don't, the colors, I'm not
And
sure.
they released a photo of all the heroes from so they've got Ant-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, who is Ronin, Black Widow, and the Hulk, and each of them is wearing a different new outfit. And Captain America is wearing the outfit that's similar to his Winter Soldier one, except it's got that feathering that copies the comics more closely. So it's a new outfit, and the Hulk is also wearing a suit, like a costume. It's I don't know if you guys have seen
Yes,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So the Hulk's wearing a full suit, so we don't really know what that means, whether it's kind of taken from the comics where the Hulk is and Bruce Banner are more linked now than they were in
And
the
the
past.
Hulk speaks intelligently.
Exactly, yeah.
Which could be, they have said, and this is the interesting thing as far as Mark Ruffalo and the Hulk character in the Marvel Universe that we've seen, is that because of a few different rights things, everybody's like, when are we going to get a standalone Hulk movie with Mark Ruffalo? Well, they can't, because of rights they still have outstanding with that character. So what they did say, what the Russos said is, over the course of Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame, he said the next 3 movies that Ruffalo appears in, it's a 3-part story arc for the Hulk. So they basically shoehorned in a Hulk movie into these 3 movies if you just look at the Hulk storyline. So in Ragnarok, you had him being the Hulk for more than 2 years, and then not wanting to change back, but being able to and trying to come to terms with that. Bruce Banner fighting to get the Hulk out in Infinity War, but him not coming, and then whatever we're going to see where he's in the suit and maybe they fully integrated.
Yeah.
That could be a possibility, but there's going to be sort of a nice tie-up to this Hulk storyline we've seen over the last 2 movies is going to be wrapped up in Endgame, so that should be interesting to see as well.
And I will say, for myself, the biggest dark horse out of the original Avengers movie has been Ruffalo's portrayal of Bruce Banner and the Hulk take. It's really been a character that I was surprised I've enjoyed seeing on screen as much as I have.
Yeah, he's been great. I would have loved to have seen a Ruffalo standalone Hulk movie because his portrayal is just fantastic and be really awesome to see.
I would love to see a crossover between like the Now You See Me franchise and the Hulk movie. So Ruffalo's doing like close-up magic as the Hulk.
That
Would be. I think we need that. I think the world
I think
needs that.
that's what we need.
And then he just punches Jesse Eisenberg. in
He's
his
doing
balls.
3-card Monty saying Hulk says find Queen.
Um,
Find Queen.
do you guys have anything you want to add in, throw your hats in the ring? Anything you want to debate with us on, talk to us on?
We just have heads full of nerdy knowledge, and that's what we're here for. And so, and we'll get into we'll talk about Spider-Man: Far From Home as well, and get into sort of the future and where things are going and what they've discussed already. But we love to bring in any fan questions, things like
Well,
that.
something you mentioned, like you were talking about Captain Marvel, like Monica Rambeau is also in that movie too.
Yes,
So
that's true.
Something else that wasn't mentioned that
Yeah.
could potentially turn into something.
Yeah, yeah. No, what's now? Sorry, but because again, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool DC guy. I know I read an article about that Monica Rambeau's in it, so she ends up being
She was Captain Marvel for a while.
for a time.
Yes, and
okay.
then she's had a couple other names as well. So.
And then her daughter as well is a character later on too, because in the new Captain Marvel trailer we see when she's in the new costume.
The daughter is Monica Rambeau.
Oh, that is Monica. Okay, but her mom is.
Is also Monica. They're both.
They're
named
both
Monica
Monica. Okay,
Rambeau.
sorry, I was confused there. But yeah, that's what some people were like, and she's like, oh, do you like the outfit? And giving the girl a high five. Okay, sorry, my mistake on that one. Thank you.
No, one is Captain Marvel. One of the original Captain Marvels, and the other is Captain Marvel in Next Wave.
Gotcha.
Which
Okay.
Marvel should definitely look into because that's like another take on Deadpool. Like a
Right.
team up.
Yeah.
And so anybody else questions, thoughts, observations?
Yeah, I had a question just regarding the relationship between Disney and Sony. What's going on there? I suspected that Disney was waiting for Sony to circle the drain. They weren't doing too well, and then there's a success of Venom. They're working with them on Spider-Man. What's going on there with that Marvel Cinematic Universe tied with Sony?
So I think what the kind of the arrangement is that Sony can do their own Spider-Man movies,
Mhm.
but they use Tom Holland, and then Disney can kind of rent out Tom Holland to do the Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The thing that they're going to really diversify on and separate is the villain universe. So that's kind of what Sony's roadmap looks like. Is they're going to focus more on the villain work.
Sinister Six
the Sinister
movie.
Six. Well, the Sinister Six movie is stonewalled, but they're going to do other individual storylines. I personally would have loved to see Paul Giamatti play Rhino in longer than we got in the Andrew Garfield film. And which, by the way, I really enjoyed the Andrew Garfield portrayal of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it just didn't come to fruition, maybe because that movie was essentially Batman and Robin.
Given and by the way, Venom was surprisingly amazing.
Yeah, a lot of
Really
fun.
great film.
Especially that post-credit scene with Woody Harrelson.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the setting up Carnage,
Setting up-
and
oh.
they're talking about they could be possibly setting up the Tom Hardy that it's the Agent Venom storyline where he's operating on behalf of the government and Venom's a hero, and they kind of played him that way. But the way they really played that relationship with the symbiote was great in that film, and Hardy was fantastic at it, and he was also the voice of Venom. If you didn't know, I mean, he just seems to like doing those deep. You can barely understand the voices. Gotham is ashes.
Yeah,
You got my permission to die.
when that movie first came out, a lot of the reports, I believe Rob and I were talking about, a lot of the reviews of it were not positive. Slammed it, but when you actually got in the seat and watched the film, it was actually a lot of fun. So I think that review kind of got a raw deal. the contract negotiation, back to that point, the one I'm really looking for is how Fox's products are gonna fit into the universe.
Yeah.
Because that deal is now officially signed and done.
Signed inked and contracts, so that means, once again, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four universes are under the Marvel head.
See, and the
again.
Disney Fox deal is different than the Disney Sony deal.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
Disney Fox
Yeah,
is a
Disney
buyout, so
bought
they can
Fox.
do whatever they
Yeah,
want.
but they don't
No
have
money
the-
changed hands with Sony. All they did is just, we're gonna play
Professional
this.
relationship.
That acquisition was obvious, though. It's like,
Yeah.
why would Disney buy them all? Like, Deadpool, the success of Deadpool, there's X-Men and
Exactly.
And with the
Fantastic Four.
with the purchase of the Fox properties, they announced this week that don't worry, we're not going to touch Deadpool. Let Deadpool do their
And
let
it's
the
remaining
Deadpool team do
R-rated,
the Deadpool thing.
everything's-
The nice part is, and this is one of the tough parts about the original Deadpool movie, is the original team that made that film had to separate for the next film, and they brought in the two writers, Rhett Reese and Paul Warnick, to do the second movie. The reason why that happened was there was a huge fight between Ryan Reynolds and the director, T.J. Miller, what's his name? Not T.J. Miller, because he plays
He's, yeah.
Weasel.
What's the guy?
Anyways,
what do you mean?
Phil?
Phil Miller.
Phil
yeah.
Miller?
No, it's Phil Lord and it's Lord and Miller, right?
Yeah. Anyways, so the original director of the first movie, they were like, oh, because Ryan Reynolds said we're not increasing the budget. So, well, we have more money to play with from the studio. We don't care. The reason why the first movie was so great was because we did what we did with what we had, and we need to do the same thing with this movie, and they did successfully in Deadpool 2. The interesting thing is actually Ryan Reynolds played Juggernaut in Deadpool 2 as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so
he did the mocap and the voice. He was Juggernaut.
And not because they wanted to, but just because it was easier. They could just have him do the mocap while he was on set. So he actually played both those characters. So if he gets to do that double duty again, because if you didn't notice at the end of Deadpool 2, Juggernaut's climbing out of the swimming pool. He actually survived. But I'm going to be curious to see how they weave those characters in. And while we're talking about that, it's included the Marvel Universe, but Dark Phoenix comes out this year as well.
Yes.
And that looks.
And so does what's it called with Maisie Williams?
Oh yeah.
Not new. No, not
No,
new. Not
no,
New
it's a
Mutants.
Yeah, version.
Yeah, they're doing an X-Men movie.
Yeah, it's
movie
New
as like a
Mutants.
horror.
New
New
Mutants,
Mutants.
yeah.
So if you haven't seen the trailer for that, it plays like a
Yeah.
horror film. And it's this hospital where they're keeping these young mutants. Maisie Williams is in it. A couple of other folks.
She's playing
have been-
Wolfbane,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
So it's going to be interesting, and there's been speculation. I guess, from what I understand, Disney hasn't decided yet if they will recast the existing X-Men. They're going to wait and see how Dark Phoenix does. So, if Disney could torpedo it a little bit, so that gives them the excuse to fully recast. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we've seen the Dark Phoenix storyline before. And there hasn't been like a lot of press on Dark Phoenix or a lot of trailers or anything, but yeah, we've got New Mutants and Dark Phoenix coming out, and those will all be interesting. Wonder if we're going to see Fantastic Four again. I know Brad had
The
an
dream
amazing dream casting for Fantastic Four. If Disney was to do it, please share. It was I love this cast.
So my idea for the Fantastic Four movie was to have John Krasinski play Mr. Fantastic, Emily Blunt play Susan Storm. They would have
No,
No,
the
it was-
blonde guy
no,
from This Is
Michael,
Us.
yeah, the blonde guy from This Is Us.
Yeah,
Hartley.
Yeah, Justin Hartley.
Justin Hartley, and then they would have from Walking Dead.
Cudlitz.
Michael Cudlitz.
Michael Cudlitz from
play,
Walking Dead, who's,
Abraham.
Graham.
Playing
Yeah.
the thing.
He'd be awesome as Ben
Right?
Grimm.
Yeah.
So good. And if you look up, there's some fan art done up
Yeah.
of, currently buff Krasinski with, the little gray on the sides and in the Mr. Fantastic costume with the full beard, and it looks pretty badass. It would be awesome. And then his wife, Emily Blunt, rocks the blonde hair from time to time, and it would be great. Hell, given the success of A Quiet Place, let Krasinski direct it.
Yeah, 100%.
Let him direct it, let them do a Fantastic Four movie in a really, really cool way. I think that'd be awesome.
I love that Krasinski and Pratt went from being like your goofy drinking buddies to jacked movie stars over the course of the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. So I'm really looking forward to see how the X-Men and the formerly Fox properties weave into the Marvel Universe. I'm also really excited with the purchase because Fox now has the Disney money to back up T.J. Jackman's house and be like, we'll pay you this much money to throw the claws on again and act opposite Ryan Reynolds. All of their social media interactions, they both, if you haven't had the opportunity to look it up, there's a great commercial now out for both Laughing Man,
Coffee.
Hugh Jackman's coffee company, and Ryan Reynolds' Aviation Gin Company. They did a co-marketing thing, and it's hilarious on YouTube. So definitely check it out. They're just great. So
Sorry, quick, just an interesting thing that Ian said about Disney Marvel maybe tanking the Fox Dark Phoenix movie. It wouldn't be the first time that Disney and Marvel actually tried to tank the X-Men franchise.
Yep.
Because they're in the comic book world, Marvel was actually pulling back on the X-Men franchise as far as comics go to kind of make it not as popular so that Fox would eventually go down the drain because they didn't want to promote those movies because they weren't getting any money from it.
well, they could have just let Fox do what they do best and tank properties.
Take
like they did
properties
with
anyway,
Fantastic
except
Four
for
twice.
Blade.
Except for Blade, which we do have to give credit to Blade for re-jolting the.
I would
Oh, yeah.
love to
Cinematic
see
universe.
Wesley Snipes come
Well,
in.
they have said that they are working on bringing Blade back.
Yeah.
And whether it would actually be Wesley Snipes or not, I don't know. There is another great piece of fan art that somebody did with John Boyega from
Yeah.
Star Wars as Blade, and it looks awesome. That somebody photoshopped together would be a great piece. So that's the thing. When we were talking about this in the panel that I did with Vince, that it's amazing that you've got such high level talent that can be brought in on these things.
and
now.
that want to be a part of these.
Oh yeah, like actively, and they're bringing in auteurs, really great directors, and that's the thing they need to do is let these directors just do their thing. But that everything is connected, and really Spider-Man is just the last piece that's not completely under the umbrella, but if they keep that deal going, which I think there was a certain number of movies they were doing it for. So I think they're doing a trilogy is what they pre-established with the Tom Holland Spider-Man. That was part of the deal, and then they were, and then whatever uses they need him for Avengers or anything else. But Far From Home, interesting. Love that we're going to see Mysterio on the
Yeah.
big screen
With
for
the
first.
big fishbowl head.
Yeah, it's very comics realistic.
That's the last 2 years have been the day and age of comic book
realistic.
accurate costumes.
Yeah.
Just quick touch on Aquaman, like having
They went full orange and green. and-
full orange and green, and then even having
Black Manta.
Black Manta. Sorry, I was blanking. Black Manta's completely comic book accurate costume. I never thought you would ever see. I thought they'd do something.
And even
advisory
joking,
with
like
it.
they even joked about how big the helmet was because he had a
100%.
smaller helmet set up to hold the lasers in, and he tried it and it blew up, and he said, "I'm going to need a bigger helmet."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was brilliant. So yeah, seeing Mysterio in the full costume, I really enjoy seeing Jake Gyllenhaal on
Yeah.
the screen. I do enjoy the actor. I think he's great.
And I think it's great that it's Jake Gyllenhaal in the Spider-Man universe, because back in the day,
Yeah.
when they were doing Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire had hurt his back badly, and they didn't know if he was going to be able to play Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, and they were going to cast Jake Gyllenhaal as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool that he's sort of back for that. That's why there's that in-joke in Spider-Man 2 when he's sort of he goes through those moments when he's losing his powers in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, and at one point he jumps off of a building and he can't get the webs to come out and he falls on a car and he gets up and he goes, oh my back. That was them doing an in-joke on the fact that he almost didn't get to play the character again because of the injury he had to his back. So, and that I think he got filming Seabiscuit. He fell off the horse at one point and really hurt himself badly. So, yeah.
So no, I'm really excited for next year, 2019. It's funny. I've mentioned it at quite a few panels we've done now. But I remember in like 1999, I said to my brothers, the next like 10 years is going to be awesome for comic book movies. They're like, yeah, we'll see. And now flash forward 20 years later, and we're still getting incredible films that we all enjoy watching.
And just a side note on the Far From Home trailer is an interesting thing they chose to do was they didn't show you any dates. Even on Peter Parker's passport, they didn't show you a year. And because she
Right.
said you have to go get your passport done, so he went and got his passport done. They didn't show you a year when he was getting that done, so they're still trying to take you out of it so you don't know whether this is before or after Infinity War.
Yeah.
And the theory I heard listening to a podcast, Fat Man Beyond with Kevin Smith, his theory on it was that in Infinity War, when you're seeing them on the bus on the bridge, that's them coming back from their trip, as opposed to just coming back from school. So we still don't know when Far From Home is taking place.
Right. No, that's true. And he's, because at the beginning of Far From Home, he's rocking the same costume that he has at the end of Homecoming,
Yeah.
as opposed to having the armored one. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens as to where that falls in the timeline, what could potentially happen. I don't know. There's so much.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that Disney owns all this stuff too is crazy.
It's just gonna own everything.
It is scary. Yeah.
Star
Look,
Wars.
Going back to X-Men, like after Logan, Hugh Jackman said like he was done with Wolverine,
Yeah.
and then later he said, "Well, one way I do is if he got to be an Avengers," and that was
Yeah.
before
Yes.
the deal ever
Yeah,
happened.
before the deal. Yeah. And
So
so
then-
there's still that possibility. Though, as Kevin Smith just recently said on his podcast, he said, hey, look, he goes, I don't care that he's the same age or older. People would pay, there would be $1 billion in income if they suited up Tom Cruise as Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like he said, he goes, and I'd pay to go see that.
He said that would be like that would
Yeah.
make
He's a
so
great
much.
height.
He's the right height. He'd actually play his own height for once in a movie. Because he is a very, if you've never seen an actual picture of him standing
He's
beside.
like what,
a
5'7",
5'6",
5'7".
5'6", 5'7", something. I know that was the thing when Nicole Kidman was on Letterman right after she and Tom got divorced. And Letterman was the first person to ask her, so it's been a few months since the divorce, how are you doing? And she said, I just love that I can wear heels around the house again. And that was like a nice subtle burn at Tom Cruise, which was awesome. But yeah, he and Sylvester Stallone are wee tiny men.
Yeah.
If you've ever, there was a very quick wide shot in Rocky IV when he's fighting Dolph Lundgren, because most of it's up close, and they make it about, like this.
Yeah.
In the height difference. It's like here.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one where they're fighting, they do a wide shot, and Dolph Lundgren pushes him back, and you go, who's that little guy with Dolph Lundgren? Like, he's so small, he just looks, because it's an actual wide shot of the two of them, and he's so freaking tiny.
It's cool behind the scenes in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. There's this one scene where Tom Cruise is with his co-star actress, and he has to walk up beside her, and she's a model height.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had to actually
Rebecca
construct.
Ferguson.
Yeah, they had to construct a ramp for him to walk up when they're standing beside each other on the balcony, so that it didn't look off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he'd be considerably smaller
Yeah.
than her.
But
Sorry.
Just because we're in a wonderful Tom Cruise sidebar, if you've never seen it, look at his front teeth. He had his face reconstructed, so
Yeah.
he actually has a middle front tooth. He has 3 front teeth. One of them is directly in the middle of his mouth under his cupid's bow.
I don't think that's right. I think his midline's just shifted.
But it's like it was from a reconstruction from a jaw break.
Yeah, but
Right.
I
So
still
it's-
don't think he has 3
but
middle
it's-
teeth. I think that
it just
the
looks
middle
like it, though.
is just
Like,
off
it's
center.
It's just off center.
It's-
And
Yeah.
he did, what was it, about 10 years ago? He did braces for a year.
Yeah, he
did
refuses to let
Invisaligns.
people talk about it, and he's like known for close-up pictures being like this. And when they said, "Tom, you can get that fixed again," he's like, "No, I'll just hide my face forever."
Yeah.
So it goes with the short thing that Tom Cruise is a magical little man.
It really is.
Because you look at the beginning of his career, and his teeth were really,
Yeah.
really messed up, and then somewhere along the line.
When you talk.
I,
He got money and he got a broken jaw, so he's like, "Fix them all."
sorry, just touching on the Wolverine thing again. If the studio also came out and said we're never doing Wolverine again,
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's fair.
Like, hanging
because
up the
because you
jerseys.
have, but you put it against Hugh Jackman's portrayal, which from day one has
Yeah.
been on point and brilliant. Like in my mindset, he is the live action Wolverine.
If you're gonna do another Wolverine, you make him more feral. Because I think that's the only thing that Hugh Jackman's portrayal was missing, was the just completely feral Wolverine.
I know some of the speculation when Jackman first said that he was done was people were saying Tom Hardy,
Yeah.
who would also be great, but now that he's Venom, that'll never happen.
No.
But somebody posted a meme the other day, just speaking of Marvel Universe stuff, that was a picture of Cap fighting, Black Panther fighting Cap in Civil War, and then Black Panther fighting Killmonger, and it said, what's Black Panther's deal with hating the Human Torch? Because he's like fighting the
Yeah.
2 Human Torches, so it's kind of funny. But anyway, that was a little other sidebar. But yeah, the Wolverine recasting, whether they could recast X-Men, because that's the other problem too, is if the last X-Men movie was in the 80s, and the new one is supposed to be, I think, the early 90s, when we're getting Dark Phoenix, if they're supposed to catch up, and if they were keeping that exact same cast, timelines don't line up for them to be in 2019.
They never have though.
No, they never have, but they would have to, that's probably the excuse Disney would use to completely recast them, is they need people, that the timelines would never match up. You're not gonna have, what's his name? Who plays, Xavier? McAvoy. Yeah, McAvoy, you know, it doesn't work. So, I don't know what they could do. I don't know, I love me some Patrick Stewart, but.
X-Men's also a time travel series though.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
they could also just allow it to happen. There's enough timeline that you could just say, yeah, we've just been adventuring and doing X-Men things for the last 20 years, and the ages, because of the gap anyways, like they're aging regularly, right? You just don't say it was you make it realistic, right? You go, it's been 20 years.
Well, and you can have James McAvoy play that role for years.
I don't know why you would pull away from Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy playing those characters, which they're great portrayals of the characters themselves. They're also great portrayals of the actors of Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart at a younger age.
Yes. Well, and that could be the interesting thing too, is they have the opportunity at the end of Endgame, with depending on how they reset the timeline, that they could. That's why the X-Men suddenly exist, because they've not been able to use the word mutant in any of the Marvel properties, the Disney-owned Marvel properties, because that was.
Yeah. What did they call Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver? They called them
they
They're
altered.
Metahumans.
No,
No, but
Metahumans
they call
DC.
Metahumans is.
But they say they both have metahuman powers.
Yeah.
Right.
Metahuman capabilities.
Because
Metahuman
that's,
capability.
they call
Yeah.
Kurt Rummel that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They say
Right.
he's exhibiting metahuman power. It's just their
Right.
go-to, like, they're not an inhuman,
Yeah.
but they have powers, so
Yeah.
it's metahuman.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting. And then do you tie it all in with the now 3 X-Men TV series that exist as well, with The Gifted,
Gifted.
Legion, and
Legion is phenomenal.
I haven't seen Legion
Oh,
yet.
it's
But
phenomenal.
Gifted, Legion, and what's the other one?
Runaways?
Runaways. Thank you.
Runaway, is that?
That's Marvel.
Yeah.
It's not X-Men.
It's not
No,
X-Men,
sorry,
no.
not Runaways. And then they've also got anyway. I thought there was a third. I don't know why I'm blanking, but anyway, there's all this extended stuff. I mean, if they follow the DC model, their TV stuff never lines up with the movies, and that's okay, because their
Yeah.
TV stuff is doing great.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what-
Marvel
yeah.
tried to tie it in, but it just hasn't
Yeah.
worked.
And Marvel's Netflix shows were great because they subtly tried to tie in a bit, like they'd mention offhand, this is how we're connected. The way that they were kind of flawed was with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They tried to connect it so closely to the movies that they ran into trouble when Winter Soldier came out, because then you didn't have S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
At the end of Winter Soldier, S.H.I.E.L.D. was dismantled, and so then you don't have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you have Agents of whatever we're doing now. Which kind of ran them into trouble, but I think they've kind of got their footing back now.
I would have loved to have been in that meeting where, the Marvel execs, just because the movies are the priority, and this is what we're doing, and this is gonna have the end of Winter Soldier, and then somebody's like, hi, we have a show, it's called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what are we supposed to do now? Like, that would have been an awkward phone call,
Yeah.
that would have been great to be a part of.
So we're getting rid of it.
Go ahead, Rob.
Well, just going with that, you haven't touched on the Netflix series, like, they were all recently killed.
Yes.
Like, now the call is made, Punisher is dead, and
Yeah.
once Jessica Jones come out, they'll wait
She'll be
6 days and cancel it.
Yeah.
That's what they said is happening.
Now, and I don't know if that's uncertainty. I mean, I guess kind of the mistake that, I wouldn't even call it a mistake, that Netflix and Disney kind of made with their relationship is that always had an expiration date. Because if Disney sees other people making money, they find a way to do it themselves. So with the launch of the DC streaming service, I don't know, I know they said it will be, I don't know that the characters are dead. I don't know that may just be business talk. I know they've come out and said that they're not doing any more series. I would.
Well, they've said, like, when they canceled Daredevil, they said this character will live on through the Marvel universe, and they said Daredevil's not gone.
Yeah.
Just maybe recast, but I think I haven't finished Daredevil yet, but I finished the Punisher, and the Punisher finale is fine as a finale for a Punisher. So.
Yeah, like they ended on a comic
That's
book
fine.
cover. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think Marvel's Disney Marvel's stance was that those series do not fit in with like Disney's vision.
Yeah.
So they can't continue them on the way they exist. Like Jessica Jones plot lines cannot be on a Disney streaming platform,
Right.
and Daredevil is too violent of a hero.
Yeah.
So-
as is the Punisher.
Yeah,
obviously.
that's-
Some of the fight scenes they did in season 2 of the Punisher were unbelievable. Like where I was going, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
oh God! Like it was terrifyingly violent. Like just.
And the two heroes I could see them bringing into the Disney streaming service kind of flawlessly is Luke Cage and Iron Fist is simply by doing Heroes for Hire.
Yeah.
And just bringing them into a show together and kind of get rid of their plot lines from before, but start a new show, Heroes for Hire, and just show them working as the street level superheroes that they
For
are in
sure.
the comics.
So it's interesting. Other thoughts, questions, anything anybody's got? Yeah, please.
Well, thanks. In Captain America: Civil War, we find that the Star Wars movies exist in the Marvel universe.
Yes.
So who plays Mace Windu?
Oh.
Yeah,
Is
that's an excellent question. Who played it? Yeah, because it's on his list of things to watch. Is Star Wars.
And
And also Tom Holland
mentioned
mentioned
it.
that old movie.
Mentioned it.
Animal.
Well,
Yeah.
but isn't it watch the Star Wars movies, but not the?
Well, Captain America had Star Wars crossed off and then Star Trek went underneath, and,
Yes,
and that
which
was
is
in Winter
funny.
Soldier.
Which may have been like someone higher up, or occasionally like don't watch Star Wars. It's not.
but then like
Stretch it out.
Spider-Man said that little movie Empire Strikes
Yeah,
Back.
because I would love for somebody to go, like, dude, you really look like Mace Windu.
Or is it like in Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie, and then it's the Terminator standee, and it's Sylvester Stallone. Yeah,
Stallone,
so
yeah.
maybe something like that.
Well, it'd be funny, but if because they never mentioned the prequel trilogy. Because
No.
when Tom Holland's talking about it, he's talking about
He mentions Empire Strikes Back.
Empire. So if in the Marvel universe, the prequels
They just
never
retcon as a
exist.
prequel.
That's the thing in Venom that happens in DC Comics.
Yeah.
When he's in the back of the car and he's like, Tom Hardy says he doesn't like sound, and then they go, "What is that? His kryptonite?"
Right,
And Venom
yeah.
goes, "Yes." So what it means, Venom knows what kryptonite is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it also
that's
goes
weird.
like
Yeah.
Superman exists in this world too.
Well, the Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire movies, Aunt May said you're not Superman.
Yeah, they constantly reference Superman.
It's so well because it's such a touchstone for everybody
Yeah.
that it's, I don't know, it's just, we live in a magical time. It just makes me so happy. It's
My-
a good
my-
time to be alive and be a geek.
My frustration right now is the Marvel kind of seems like the successful younger brother poking DC, where like DC's just like, let us just play with our toys, and then Marvel's like, no, we're gonna make fun of you for playing with your toys, and we'll take like subtle jabs at you. Like there's a Fantastic Four comic book where they like kill off a bunch of the characters from the DC universe just offhandedly. Like they make a reference, and they make like references to like the Martha moment in Batman v Superman. Just little things where they just do things to just poke the DC universe just to make fun of them.
Yeah.
And I kind of find that irritating and unnecessary. So Marvel, when you inevitably see this, because they're definitely paying attention to everything
Of course,
we do.
they're
It's
gonna
Disney.
hear what we're talking about.
Cut it out.
Yeah, knock it off.
So
Leave us alone.
just leave us alone.
Don't yuck our yum.
What?
That's an expression.
It's super not.
No.
It super is. Don't yuck my
Is that
yum.
an expression?
Did you hear that on the radio show?
Shut up. Yucking somebody's yum, that's a thing.
That sounds
Sounds
illegal.
oddly sexual.
Nobody's shaking their heads.
Maybe it's just the half dozen podcasts that I listen to that use it all the time. There's even
Are they real podcasts?
listen.
There
Welcome to the Ian Show.
Yeah. Do you think with Disney taking over Fox, do you think they're killing the movie industry?
I think they're killing a competitive movie industry. I think if you put, and it's a lot of eggs in one basket, but I also think that as long as we're willing to pay $8 realistically to see a movie and $75 for a bucket of popcorn, that the movie industry is not going anywhere. I think the bigger issue is the streaming services are probably having more of an effect on the movie industry. Personally, I don't have an Android box. I don't illegally download because I firmly believe in the film and television industry. So if I'm going to consume something, I'm going to pay for it. Because if I want to consume entertainment, as part of and I'm on the periphery of the entertainment industry, we absolutely can do these panels. We can absolutely get together and do this nerdy stuff. But we've all kind of paid in our own way to be here. Whereas if we just consume stuff for free, there's nothing to keep that industry going. I'm a firm believer in seeing a movie. There's nothing better in my mindset than seeing a movie that you really care about on opening night with a bunch of people in that theater moment. And I think the Android box industry, the I'm not going to pay for it because it's so expensive. I understand money's tight for me, money's tight for everybody. But at the same time, if you're going to consume someone's work, you should still have to pay for it. So I think the Android box mentality of, well, I'll just watch it on my couch at home and not pay to see, that kills it more than I think a big corporation funneling their resources. I don't think having more money in the superhero industry is a bad thing in any way, shape, or form.
I wonder about
that.
Oh, sorry. I think. Yeah, you answered my question. That one part of the question, but what the question I had was, is you have this big conglomerate of Disney over here,
Yeah.
and then you have all of these other
Yeah.
companies over here, right? So it's like Big Brother, and all these other companies are more smaller, independent ones, because you've got everything is DC or Marvel, right, thrown at you. From a perspective, if you were to go out and make your own, like make a movie, right? You're going up against Goliath,
Sure.
right? And so how do you? It's kind of like now all of these little ones here are going to have to really be even more picky choosy for, say, an independent film, to combat with this, because you're so, like, it's in your face. I get it. I love it. It's becoming like this. Like, you know, when you watch the Maple Leafs when they used to lose all the time, right? You know, everybody still continued to watch the Leafs.
And I would agree with you. I do believe it's very tough for small level creators to get their own stuff out. I mean, it's incredibly tough for the three of us to get our name out there and get on the market, because there's so many other big names out there. But that being said, I also think there's always going to be a place for those art house movies. I always think there's going to be a place for those art house budget films and for that kind of material out there. If you look at, for example, the Oscars, like, you can count on one hand the number of superhero properties that have a $250 million budget when you roll in their advertising and the actual production costs. How many of those, you can count on one hand how many have actually been nominated for any kind of Academy Award. So your art house pictures are always going to have a place. There is an issue with the David versus Goliath thing, but the reason why we still use that as a metaphor is because David beat Goliath. And the opportunity is still there. You just have to really work and do it. As long as your stories, your material's good, your unique property's good, I think it'll survive. I really do. If you have something of value to market.
But I see what you mean. Like, if you look at, you know, the top 10 grossing movies of any given year, probably 8 of them are from something owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Which is that's tough to compete with. I mean, and they own the stuff now that they bought Fox. Like, they now own the X-Files. They now own. There's so much with the Fox purchase that they got. What else did they get?
Maybe they'll bring back the Lone Gunman.
Yeah,
They didn't finish that. It's like they ended it on that note. It's like it's canceled.
Did they get Simpsons with that too?
Yes, they got The Simpsons now too.
And then they renewed it for 3 years right away.
Yeah. So it's crazy. They own, like, now you're gonna see Simpson stuff at Disney World.
Yeah.
Like, that's what will happen. So.
He won the Fortnite competition.
Okay.
I mean, I can just to speak to one thing about
You won.
the
I won?
Disney
You won.
like buying everything.
Sweet, man.
Is that
So what are you
there's
doing
one
here right now?
Marvel
legal aspect of that where
Marvel
there's the worry that Disney
Marvel
will
movies?
own every
About the Marvel movies?
property in the world one day. Is that because we live in a world where American laws are slowly getting subsumed by Chinese copyright laws, is that the Fox merger has happened, but it has not happened in the eyes of the rest of the world, and that could actually see more legal challenges, because other countries do look at Disney and go, you can't own media, which Disney's trying to do, to own every piece of media. And so that could be challenged. We could see down the, like, in a year or two, a media challenge says, like, Fox has to spin off from Disney. Like, they can own it and have that money, but they can't live in the same silos. Under America, it's called an antitrust. And Disney is very quickly building an antitrust. But they just, by not owning, I think there's like 2 companies that they haven't made moves at, and they're protected so far. But it'll get challenged. At some point, somebody gets spun off from it, because Yeah, Disney owns the media right now.
Yeah, they sure do.
And I mean, and the other thing is a lot of the cinematic industry is owned by China as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your movie has to be successful in China in order for you to have an international run. Prime example of that would be the only reason we have a Transformer series is because they're wickedly popular in China. And they don't do a whole lot of money here.
Michael Bay kills it.
Michael Bay kills it.
Same with the Ninja Turtles.
I just want to listen in.
No worries.
Sure,
No,
we're-
I'll let you have a seat.
And then, well, I mean, it's, you even look at Aquaman. Now, just on the DC side, that it's the highest grossing DC film. It beat out The Dark Knight. But if you look at the box office numbers, Dark Knight did $650 million domestic. Aquaman did $350 million domestic. But Aquaman did $700 million international. So that's, again, and with the Disney stuff too, and you see that's one of the reasons, even you go back to the original Thor movie, that one of the reasons that one of the Warriors 3 was Asian was for the Chinese market. And if you can look up the Chinese trailer for the original Thor movie, Thor's hardly in it. It's all the good lines that character has. And he's the prime, it's almost like he's the hero. They recut scenes just for Chinese.
Well, they would do that anyway for, depending on where someone's thinking in their marketing department.
Yes,
right?
for sure.
You know, I mean, it's kind of like the Super Bowl commercials, right? You watch the Super Bowl, we only get the Pepsi commercial up here because Pepsi is like almost like it's a world brand, right?
Sure.
Although that's pretty annoying when you hear okay, you know, all the time, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
going to be
sure.
a thing. But yeah, it would make totally sense what they do there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. Disney owns media. Yeah. Any other questions, thoughts anybody has? Marvel Universe, Cinematic Universe, all things comic. This is our last panel.
This is our last.
Of the
Yeah.
For
that we're actually
doing.
hosting.
So, any other questions, comments? We appreciate everybody that's come out to all of our panels and seen all of our
Seen us all
stuff.
weekend. Once again, we're the Justice League Ontario is what our Facebook page is. Justice League Ontario. My name's Jeremy Bushell.
Ian Tyson.
Brad Bushel.
We tour to quite a few cons over the course of the year. So if you follow us on Facebook, we'll post where we're at. Come by and say hi, and we'll do it all again. But
Or-
different topics. We'll do the
and
same thing over and over again.
If you follow Justice League Ontario on the Facebook page, you'll get updates like we are looking at putting out a podcast as well soon, and we've got some other things that are percolating that we shall see. And if you're ever down London way, we do try and do movie nights. We're maybe finding a new location where we're going to be doing them, but we do movie nights whenever any nerdy movie opens. We go and do a Comic-Con style panel for a half hour before the movie starts.
And today there's actually a live stream of Ian playing Fortnite and losing badly. So
Hey, I killed a guy with a pickaxe. Okay?
It was kind of badass.
I've never played the game before, and I killed a dude with a pickaxe.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know if this has already been asked.
No worries.
What do you guys think the DC Extended Universe has to do to like catch up and meet the quality of the MCU? Like,
I think in the last year and a half, we covered this yesterday, and we did a DC panel last night.
Okay.
And the other thing we did. So I think over the last year and a half, I mean, kind of from Wonder Woman onwards, take Justice League out of the mix, they've really turned a corner as far as their quality of films. The thing that I think the primary thing that DC needs to do is leave their directors alone. Patty Jenkins was left alone for Wonder Woman, huge success. James Wan was left alone for Aquaman, huge success. Every other movie you've had, the studio stepped in and said, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Even though you're the storyteller, we hired you to do a job.
So we're going to change A, B, C, D, E.
We're going to pull you out,
and
and we're going to swap around things. So I think they're going to turn a corner. The other thing that I think the DC Universe has decided is that they're no longer going to focus on building a shared universe. They would rather have 3 great Aquaman movies than worry about trying to mix him in with everybody else. Well, I'm really curious to see Wonder Woman 1984 and see what they do there. But it's going to be a different turn. You cannot carbon copy something that's 23, 24 movies long now.
Well, I think that's the thing they have to do is not try and catch up. Then what they have to do is just stay in their damn lane.
Yeah.
Just stay in your lane.
Just stay in your lane.
And they've stated the 1984, the Wonder Woman sequel, 1984, is going to be a soft reboot for the franchise.
Really?
So, yeah, it's a soft reboot. So they're not going to reboot everything. They're just going to kind of change the way that they're going.
For the DC series, not for the Wonder Woman storyline. It's going to be the same character that we fell in love with in Wonder Woman. It's just going to be a reboot for the Justice League aspect. I think they're going to.
So I think they're going to
needed because
yeah.
But director-wise, though, I think they've had made like some poor decisions in who they choose as their direct.
I would agree with you if we actually got to see a finished director product. The movies that people have a complaint with are movies that the studio directly impacted the decision making of the days.
Where they went and reshot and recut things and changed.
For example, Suicide Squad was directed by David Ayer, but they actually booted David Ayer out of the cutting booth and brought in the company that cut the trailer because the trailer was such a success that the executives went, well, we want it to be like the trailer, forgetting that the trailer is 2.5 minutes long. So you're giving a company that's in charge of 2.5 minutes of video full reins of a cinematic, like a 2-hour cinematic movie. And so they recut it, and that's why it feels so cut and jarred and diced
like
up.
ADD, because it's just
because it's done by people
start
who
off
were-
really strong and then just completely
Exactly, because they just started hacking and dashing because they're like, well, we need action, 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 and they didn't give any time for the story.
They disagreed on the direction that Zack went with Justice League, and that's why then when he had to step back because of some family stuff, they had Whedon come in, and they're like, no, you reshoot a ton.
And that's why you can tell it definitely feels
But
like two different
Snyder's stories were never good. Like Batman vs Superman was a really.
But Batman vs Superman is another example because the studio
came in.
He submitted his cut. It was 3 hours 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And the studio went, too long. You're going to cut that down about 45 minutes. So we had to cut almost an hour of material out.
Huge swaths of story, which is why things don't make sense.
Yeah. And it's another jarring moment where the studio went, we want action, action, action. And Zack Snyder went, that's not the kind of story I want to tell with this. If you haven't had the opportunity, definitely check out the Snyder cut of Batman v Superman.
After I watched the first one, I was like, I can't go.
No,
back.
there's an extended cut. It's 45, about a half hour, 45 minutes longer, and you go, oh, that makes sense now.
No, it's much better. Man of Steel was really well received.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do anything.
They didn't mess with them.
Yeah.
Prime example is Deadpool. No one in the studio thought that Deadpool would be a success. They gave them a modest budget to work with, and they left them alone. And Deadpool was the highest grossing R-rated comedy of all time, because they just let them be and let them do their things. Same with Wonder Woman. Same with Aquaman. They let the director tell the story. They hired a director to tell the story, and then Warner Brothers executives have stepped in and said, no, we know better than you. We like the way you told those stories, but we know how to tell this story better than you do, and they cut him out. Which is why, actually, 3 years ago now, I think the head of Warner Brothers Cinema was fired. Canned, get out of here, we're done with you. And they brought a new guy in, and the new guy goes, just let them do their job. Yeah. And that's why we've turned a corner in the DC universe. That's the huge difference. And so seriously, take an opportunity to look at the director's cut of even Suicide Squad. Yeah. It's only 15-20 minutes longer, but it's better. Moved around a little bit. But the director's cut of Suicide Squad and the director's cut of Batman v Superman are two completely different films.
And even Justice League was originally supposed to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
The first one, so I've heard that the first one was originally supposed to end when Steppenwolf goes away after they've defeated him. Darkseid comes down, and there's about a 10-minute sequence where they're fighting him and get destroyed, like just get beaten, and then he goes back up, and that's the end of the first one. And then the second one is supposed to be them going into space to go to Apocalypse and fight Darkseid. And then the third one is supposed to take part during that future vision that Bruce Wayne has while he's in the Batcave. Yeah. That's supposed to be the entire third movie. And so it was originally supposed to be a 3-part series, and the exec said, no, we're going to bump this down to 1.
Cram everything you can.
Cram all the story you can into 1 film.
So that's the problem.
Because they didn't
Studio
trust
gets
Snyder
too involved.
There's a tragedy in the Snyder family also, which is another one that's thrown in.
Yeah.
And so he stepped down, which 100% on your side, do what you need to do for your family. That's the most important thing. And ultimately, it hurt the DC universe as a whole. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes there. Yeah. And I think the new direction for Warner Brothers is to let the directors tell the story that they're hiring.
I read about how Marvel chooses the directors, how they basically tell the directors that it's like an audition. The directors writes a story, gives them a theme, how to approach the story, and then they choose what they think.
Yep, 100%. And Warner Brothers tried the same thing. Said, we like the story, we like the way you want to direct this film, but you don't know what you're doing, we're going to cut it for you.
But then we don't like it. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, we got to respect the schedule and get out of the room. But thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Guys.